Hello, everyone, and welcome to 1v1 with Boss Rush Games. I'm your host, Celeste Roberts of Nintendo Pavlok and Another Zelda podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Edward Varnell, Eddie V, host of Nintendo Pavlok, Optional Opinion, Boss Rush Games, Talk the Walk. Am I forgetting anything, Ed? I hope I didn't forget anything from that list.
No, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of World 101 podcast, everybody.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much for being here for your second updated 1v1.
Thank you. It's great to be a co-founder of Boss Rush, along with Corey and with Jesse, and it's an honor to be here once again with this 1v1. I had to look a little bit more business this time because in the roles that I am in, I gotta make sure that I'm a little bit more professional.
Oh, well, you clean up very nicely, Ed.
Thank you. I wish I did have my hair cut though, but I'll get that someday.
You look spiffy, I promise. Don't you worry. Well, if you guys aren't aware, you can look at us on the YouTube channel and you can see how nice Ed looks. You can look at our faces, you can see our smiles. So
Yes.
So Ed, Boss Rush Games is getting an updated version.
Yes. We are going to 3.0. We got some surprises for you guys. We have added a lot of people to our crew and doing some exciting things. So I am excited that we are going forward with this process and everything. Me, Corey, and Jesse never thought that where we started at individually, and then when we got together to where we are at now, how much content we made, how many discussions on and off that we have made, like in adding people and working with them and actually having a positive vibe with everybody. This is something that we always worked hard for and dreamed of, and through every ups and downs leading up to Boss Rush 3.0, it's exciting to still have listeners and game members and really talk to people and stuff and interact. And it's one thing me and Corey said that as many questions that we get about podcasting, once you get into it and you learn the ropes about it, you become natural to it. You become a professional to it. We tell people just talk, just feel comfortable, talk, say what you need to say, and but of course, be respectful and everything, but let's have fun. And that's what 3.0 is going to still be about, but expanding it more in a sense. So
That is awesome. So we're gonna rewind, and why don't you tell us about the first days of Boss Rush Games? Like, how did you meet Corey and Jesse, and how did this idea for this podcast even come about?
Okay, so going back, and Corey will also explain his side. Me and Corey were doing different podcasts at the time. I still have my own optional opinion, and that started, and that's gonna be a little bit question. So I will save that history for that one. But I was doing optional opinion and World 101 podcast at that time. Corey was doing DNA, Digital Nerds Advocate, and we met through Nintendo voice chat on Facebook, the group and stuff. And I ended up following him. He ended up following me. I ended up following DNA, and I was checking out their shows, and me and Corey just literally got talking about Nintendo stuff and everything. And he knew how excited I was for Nintendo and everything. And we continued to talk, and he asked me, "Hey, would you like to do Nintendo Power Block, or come on a podcast to talk about Nintendo?" I was just like, "Yes, of course," and everything. And so, my friend, also Adrian Nieto, us three, because we were still friends and we still talk to each other. We started Nintendo Power Block, and or Pop Block at that time, and we were just talking all this Nintendo stuff about Wii U, about Zelda, and just having this fun discussions like we have been friends for the first time. And Adrian had to step away because he was doing a lot of stuff and everything. And I love Adrian Nieto, that's my guy. And me and Corey continue to go on, and we work with our friend Kyle. We talked to him, did some shows, and then Kyle had to step away at a time, and then it was just me and Corey, and we like literally did Nintendo Power Block. And when DNA transitioned to Nurse Gone Wrong in GR, we were still doing Power Block, but we was adding more shows to it and everything. And we met Jesse through NGR because he started listening to Nintendo Power Block, but then we started talking about, well, we got to talk about Xbox, and so we started talking about Xbox and everything. And me and Corey were just still making content, and we were still just laughing and talking, and started up a show called Pod and Play. And that one was like we both were playing games at the same time, but talking about the game, the history, and talking about the themes and stuff. And I remember we talked about diversity, talking about comics, and talking about mental health when we played Hellblade. And soon when we got started talking about Arsenal X, and we met Jesse, we were just like, hey, how about you come on to talk to us? And Jesse had never podcast, and Jesse came on. He started talking about Xbox and Arsenal X, and we all three just clicked, just like had fun and everything. And we kept doing it for months and for years and everything. And we continued to do it. And when NGR kind of went away, it transitioned because we didn't know what we was going to name ourselves, so we had codename NX, and we had our good friend Ray Apollo join us, and then Ray had to was doing some other things, and so it ended up with me, Corey, and Jesse. And me and Corey was talking, and he was just like, how do you feel about Boss Rush games? And I had to think about it because I had to take time, and we was gonna present it to Jesse also. I had to think about it to be like, I had to try to do introductions for this. I had to try to get the feel for it. So I was just like, hello everybody, welcome to Boss Rush Games. Hello everybody, welcome to Nintendo Block here on Boss Rush Games. And so I was getting the feel for it. I was just like, yeah, I like that. So we presented to Jesse, and we all three talked, and we felt that it was a fitting title for us. So our codename in next, like, because it was almost like the Switch also, like Code NX. We ended up changing that into Boss Rush Games, because at the time we were talking about Nintendo and Xbox, and we didn't really talk much about PlayStation because we weren't playing it. But we ended up talking about Boss Rush Games, and that ended up becoming the final name. And here we are with multiple podcasts, multiple friends joining us, where it feels like a big family, because of course we still nerd out about things, but we talk about snacks, movies, life stuff, and it's always good to be in a space here on Boss Rush Games with everybody, with our writing, our reviews, and just having fun with one another. I know Corey gets on me a lot, but I always call him boss, and this is how crazy it is. So if I don't call Corey boss and I straight call him, hey Corey, he feels like something is wrong and stuff.
Oh.
And there's been times where I have called him Corey and apologized for like just anything that I said or done and stuff, because my thing is not to make Corey feel upset or anything, but I always call him boss because I feel like, of course he's a producer, he does a lot of stuff, and when you're like in boss mode, like you big and bad, you own things, you feel good about yourself because you're managing and you work with everybody loves the flow and the work ethic that you have. So I call him boss and stuff, and I try to be on that same level of being the boss, or kind of being a boss, not so much of managing everything, but always feeling like I gotta watch out for everybody also. If anything is needed, I'm gonna do my best to help people out that I can and stuff. And so um and just like I talk to Jesse the same way I talk to Corey before Boss Rush game. Like, and I was talking to Jesse about music and video games, definitely with Xbox, and he continues to get me excited when I talk about video games and stuff. And when I found out that he was all about music and he's making music and listening to it, I'm like talking to Jesse and being up 2 or 3 hours hearing his mixes and talking to him on the phone while he's at work and everything. It gets me excited because it's just like I want him to create, but I also need him. I don't know how he edits or anything, or if he needs a second opinion, but I kind of like listening to what he is making and everything. And so kind of that kind of we still do that to this very day, but that's me with Boss Rush and with Corey and Jesse and stuff. And I gave Jesse the wise Wisconsinite. I gave him that nickname because of course he's from Wisconsin, but he's so educated about Xbox and so educated about a lot of stuff that um we're neighbor states and the stuff. But he's so educated and has so much experience that I love learning from him. He's so wise about things. And I just like when I'm hearing stuff and hearing his creativity, I was just like, I wish I also had that creative aspect. I could edit and, do arrangements right here with them. I'm like, but like when we're talking about podcasts, when we're talking about jokes and when we're talking about real life stuff, he is so wise about it. And I love hearing that from him and learning that about him and just learning for myself to be like, said the same thing. I'm just like, or he said something about this and I recognize what he's saying. Now it starts to make sense. And plus he's an awesome cook. And I love when he cooks. He shows me his food and stuff. He sent me a picture of a white chicken chili. And
Mm.
I was just like, oh my goodness, this looks so good. And he used cream cheese and flour for the cream part. I'm like, I have never thought of using that for chili. And
Isn't that cool?
it's so cool. And I get excited about that. Like I always tell people, send me pics if you're going to send food. Dan send me some pics about his food. I'm just like, yes. And everything.
It's the
uh
next best thing to eating it.
it pretty much is. But uh, but I think that's what I love about working with Corey, working with Jesse, and just really working with the whole team is me learning everything. Because if anything happens to me and I had this dream that I ended up leaving Boss Rush, and everybody don't get sad, I'm not leaving anything. Uh, is that everything that I learn from everybody, I know whatever I do next, I can incorporate that and hopefully still be around Boss Rush if ever needed and stuff. But for right now, I love just everything that we got going on with Boss Rush. Uh,
Yeah, it feels like a big family. I'm fairly new to it, almost 5, 6 months in
mhm.
about, and just everybody's so welcoming. You're a joy, Ed. I have so much fun on Nintendo Pow Block and Talk the Walk. Anytime I'm able to be on Boss Rush on Saturday, it's fun. I think it's really important, as we've discussed in other podcasts. It's really important to have something creative that you can look forward to doing.
Mhm. Yeah, and I I tell I tell the PlayStation crew and I tell Xbox crew that even if I'm not watching out their shows or anything because of other things, that I love them and that I'm proud of them, because I think that's a good thing about kind of being a co-founder, or having that boss mentality, is that you always want to encourage your team. You always want them to feel loved and respected and know that whatever they're going through, they could talk to one of us. I if anyone needs to talk to me, go ahead and talk to me and stuff. I do not talk to anybody else about it. We'll have that one-on-one if we need to. But I always encourage them to be like, you guys have a voice, and I'm proud that you guys are spreading this voice. There's some agreements, there's some disagreements, only because I know that the conversation could go deeper if I get involved. So, 'cause I me and Corey had this talk, and I'll reveal myself. I have no problem doing this because I'm bad at, well, not bad at it. We have a writers team, and Corey asks, what does everybody want to do on the writing team? And everybody said what they wanted to do, and here I was just like, I want to talk about Nintendo, PlayStation. I want to write this, I want to do reviews, I want to do this. And Corey had to have a talk with me. He's just like, Ed, you can't do everything. But he came back, and we had a one-on-one, like a private conversation. He said, Ed, you are creative, and I know you want to do a lot of stuff, but we have a team that can also do these things, and you got to let them do it and everything. I was just like, I know, but you asked what we wanted to do, and I wanted to do these things. He's just like, I know, and you would do your best to do it. And so I'm trying to learn to be better, where I don't have to try to do everything. I could try to just do what I can do and what I want to do and everything. So,
Yeah. It sounds like a good combination of knowing when to pump the brakes, but then
mhm.
also going full steam ahead so that you don't burn out, because that's one of the worst things that can happen to creative people is burnout.
You know what? To me, it's not so much as burnout, because I don't get burnout for things. I think the thing with me is that I get so much into the conversation that sometimes I don't want it to stop. So it's that high. I get that high energy because as a kid, and you probably got some more stuff we're getting into. As a kid, I was, 5, 6 years old, you know, starting off with music. I was into writing songs and everything. And so nobody would hear my songs or anything. And Michael Jackson was a big influence for that. But I was always into songwriting. And then when I became a bookworm, I was, any trip that I would go to, I would have a book bag of like 14 some books, and I will only maybe read like one or two, because I had that visual mind. Like when it came to going to Six Flags, I would go home and draw the roller coaster, and so I
Oh,
was into art and stuff. And when I looked up, I didn't know what a sign was, didn't know what a ram was, and all and everything. And so when I started looking up these signs and found out what my birthday was, and finding out I was an Aries, and Aries are so creative, I was just like, that explains everything that I always wanted to do in a creative sense. Why I always wanted to do vocal arrangements, why I always wanted to draw, write short stories, why I wanted to be in plays, and well, not so much plays, but being a musical and really giving my all and giving 100%. Even when I'm here on the podcast, why I get so energetic and I say the stuff that I want to do, and be like, if I'm away from doing a podcast, I feel like I'm not achieving anything, that I'm not contributing anything. It's because Aries are creative, and once I get into those creative juices, I gotta stay motivated to stay in those creative juices. And that's why I think that's why when I answer that question of doing all of this stuff, it's because I'm so creative and want to stay creative and stuff. The burnout has nothing to do with it, because if I could create and get it out there, whether people read it or not, I feel good.
mm-hmm.
It's a self thing at first. To me, firstly, at first, it's a self thing, and then everything else comes from after that.
Yeah, it all falls into place, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. I love those stories. So you said that if you're not doing a podcast, you feel like, oh, I'm lost. So you said Optional Opinion
Hmm.
is your first podcast, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
can you give us a little background about Optional Opinion?
So yeah, so if anyone who listened to part one of the R1v1 where me and Corey actually started this, I talked a little bit about more of it. But to give a quick refresher, Optional Opinion started as a blog on oneup.com. That was Ziff Davis, and that was EGM, like Electronic Gaming Monthly. Like that was my video game Bible to me and everything. And so sorry about that. Jeremy Parrish of Retronauts he was asking what what would you like to name this kind of podcast or anything, uh, and so I put optional opinion. Just it was a thing that I put out there because I was just like, you know, I thought that was a creative thing to say, being able to give opinion about things about a topic, but also give options for it, to fix it. Because we'll give our opinions about things, but then we also want to give what they could do during in those opinions. We might be like, where Microsoft got the best thing for Game Pass, but you know what they could do to make it better, da 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 da, this point. Um, and I took that idea and started doing blogs on One Up, and it just started expanding. There was a video streaming thing, I think Ustream, that I did, and we started taking optional opinion, as camera thing. And then I ended up meeting my good friend Justin Villarreal,
Mhm.
and he was part of the Anonymous Radio Network, and I was part of joining him, and he helped me get podcast equipment and stuff. And I told him, he told me that he was a podcast. I'm just like, oh, I love podcast, listening to podcasts. I'm like, I have one called Optional Opinion. I was doing video. He's just like, maybe I can help you out. So he was getting me used to doing it and starting it and stuff. And I was doing it like once a week. And Optional Opinion is a one man show, just me, or I'll have a special guest on a certain topic, and I talk about things that we normally don't talk about in the video game industry. I give my opinion about it, but I also give some options at the end of it. So I'll talk about the history of some things. I'll give my opinions and break it down, but I also like feature music for my breaks. So you'll hear like maybe chill hop music, or you'll hear fan ideas of or fan creations of well-known video game music. So you might hear The Legend of Zelda, but it's a violin cover of something. You might hear stuff from the Sega Saturn or a video game series that you never seen or never heard of their soundtrack, but I'll drop like little bits into it and go into there. So it's a one-man podcast, and that's how well, it's one episode that me and Corey did was talking about when he first came with Optional Opinion, because I invited him on. Uh, we was talking about the Journal of Destiny. So I ended up playing Destiny for 30 days or something, and I ended up beating the game, and I was writing the journal of it. And I had Corey on to talk about Destiny because he's the Destiny guru. He was very, very educated, and I just had the questions and stuff, and we bounced back and we laughed, and it was such a pleasure and everything. And I was just like, this is the first time that he came on my podcast where he didn't have to do any work. All he had to do was talk. So, and he felt, I don't know if he felt weird about it, because it was just like, this is the first time I actually did a podcast where I didn't have to do anything, but just sit back and talk. And I love that about Corey. It's just like when me and him podcast, when he comes on Optional Opinion and we just talk, if he wants to record or he wants to do all that stuff on his side, he can. Most of the time I tell him, don't do nothing, just sit back and relax, because this is only an audio podcast. There's only one video of Optional Opinion that me and him share, and that was the history of Roller Coaster Tycoon. And and he asked to do that, and I said, you can go right ahead. I'm on my side, I'm just recording audio, and that's it. And we had a great time doing it. So Optional Opinion, like I said, when it comes to talking, mentioning things that we don't talk about in the video game industry, uh, for some people, I talk about, can video games help your sex life? um Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat, which was the better one and stuff. I talked to like, how do you How do you talk to a person that's dealing with depression when you don't, when you're like uneducated and stuff? I talked to my friend Jared Green from Irrational Passion about, is Super Metroid the number one game of all time, and we talked about the pros and cons about that. I started off when Option Opinion started off. I talked about morality and why it's important to have it when playing a video game, and why when you don't have it, you don't get the gist of what a video game is and stuff. You'll be dazzled and wowed by the graphics, but you sometimes don't, if your morality doesn't have take part with the themes and stuff, you won't understand what the message is trying to give out to. And I also did one about Yi and Lee in California, about how he was trying to, get video games to be tax high, trying to get them out of stores and rated. But then here he is getting caught in a gangster scheme and everything. And him end up losing his seat and going to jail and stuff. And so having that kind of conversation and everything, it's just like you talked about Grand Theft Auto and kids becoming criminals, and here you are the criminal as an adult. So what part of Grand Theft Auto did you play to become a criminal? I could use that same logic about him. I also did one about Columbine RPG. And it kind of happened. That was a indie game that these creators was they made about the Columbine shooting. And um it because of the theme and stuff, they didn't feature it or anything. This indie contest, they rejected it and everything. And it was just like, I think it should have been a game that we should have played, and it should have been out. And I know that seems unethical and stuff. But it is a First Amendment right thing. But I think at that time, after Columbine happened and stuff, it just wasn't the right time. And it's a form of expression. And I was kind of talking about, well, we play in rated games where we're killing people that we don't have no connection to. And so what happens if we play a game that, yeah, it is taking something from the real world that happens, and we may be able to connect? Why can't we not play that? Is that because that's nonfiction versus fiction? Or is it something that we have a level of expectations and acceptance? And if you could accept killing fake things, you should be man or woman enough, or adult enough, or mature enough to be able to handle maturity things like this. You know, there's a game called A Dragon Named Cancer, about this man losing his baby to cancer and stuff. And he made this game, and he brought it to different cons for people to play. And they couldn't finish it because they were crying, because it felt so real. And even though some people say, I don't want to have kids, this will make you feel something. So I feel like if we're able to handle stuff like that, we should be able to handle something like playing Columbine RPG. We really, for us on the outside, we don't have no connection to the people who were victims and stuff. And it might, this portion might turn people off or make them upset, but you guys sometimes gotta look at your library of video games, and regardless if it's fictional stuff, and when I talked about morality and stuff, look at what you have and what you accept as a gamer, and then see if you can mesh that up in face of playing something like that. It's not about the graphics, it's not about the voice acting, it's not about gameplay and stuff. Sometimes, can you handle stuff that is real world stuff? Because if you're looking at something on TV that is really big and everything, and you don't really have no empathy or moral, you don't understand what's going on. You just you see it, and because it's too depressing, you switch to football or something, and just rooting for the team that you want. You should be able to get more of an understanding of playing something like Columbine RPG. Hatred, that video game, you don't really have to play or anything. But if you play something like Columbine RPG, think about you being in a role for that. Now, you could play it, have like it or hate it or feel whatever you want to feel about it, but then you're going to go pick up Cyberpunk and do almost the same stuff that you did in Colorblind RPG. The only thing is there's just no connection that this is a real world situation,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So that's stuff
Yeah.
on optional opinion that I talk about and I address because we don't talk about things in the video game industry. We talk about the news or what somebody said, but let's get down nitty and gritty and talk about some things that we talk about things that we can address or something that's so outside left field that you think that you don't have nothing to say and literally let someone say something that would spark something for you to say something after that or respond to after that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what optional opinion is. And then yes, it is, like I said, it is a one man show, and it's just my opinion and I give options to it, but I also want people to hear it and come back to me and be like, I want to do a follow-up show with you. I want
Mm-hmm.
to respond to this and get on the podcast and let's talk about it and let's have fun. Because a lot of people who think I'm in one thing, you would literally find something else completely different once you get onto optional opinion and we have that discussion. Because I surprise a lot of people on how fun I am. You know, I yes, I talk about Nintendo, and people might think that I'm biased or between Xbox and PlayStation, but I'm like, shoot, I'm a big fan of those systems too. Out of everybody in Boss Rush, I this is not a diss to anybody on Boss Rush or anything. I probably own about 300 plus physical games for so many systems. Not and that's not just Nintendo. That's literally Xbox and that is then literally PlayStation. Like physically owned, you know. And so I talk about I talk about a lot of this stuff. It may seem questionable at times, but like if I enjoy God of War, I want to talk about God of War, but I want to talk it in a different sense that people thought, you know, the expectations that you hear everybody else talk about God of War, that's fine. But I'm like, I want to talk about some other things of God of War that you wouldn't expect, and you would be like, I never thought that way. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad that I want to hear it. Or I never thought it that way, but I disagree with what you said, and I want to respond. So then let's have that conversation and stuff.
Yeah,
So
because I view video games as art, and I think the psychology behind video games is a very important topic to
yeah,
address because they can reflect so much of the real world in a beautiful way. Like people who listen to a song, watch a movie, or read a book, and it affects them. Video games, like you've pointed out, can affect people that way too.
yes, it
Very,
yeah,
they can speak to them, and they can be therapeutic as well.
yes. When I talk about Nintendo and I talk about Japan, like Japan and stuff on the outside, I always tell people you got to make sure that, and not a lot of people do it. I'm like, you got to make sure that where if you're coming from an American sense, you also got to think about the Japanese culture, and you also got to think about the European culture, and sometimes Australia. These businesses and these companies do different things, and if you don't understand what's going on in one culture, you're not going to understand why it's also happening in all culture. So yes,
Hmm.
Nintendo doesn't have the best online experience as Xbox or PlayStation. Do they need to have that best? Do they need to have it? Not really, because the thing about it is, in Japan, they have more people, and the way that they interact and play games with each other is completely on how we do it in here. Nintendo is an entertainment company. They don't go into technology like Microsoft or Sony. Sony is into sound. You know, if you don't realize why they got headphones or Walkmans and stuff, Sony also used to make games. And check out Hook on the Sega CD and stuff, or check out Super Nintendo when Sony made their sound chip. And while sound was important to them, Microsoft has a place in America, and they started off as making PCs, so they are about tech. They're about video games now, but they never had an interest in video games like Nintendo had it, or even Sega at that time. And so when you kind of don't know about the past and try to live in the present and use the stuff that's in the present, sometimes you got to think about businesses in different areas. Nintendo's
Mhm.
focus right now um, is in Japan, and then everything else comes out of it. They want everybody to have that worldwide experience and stuff on it. But when has Nintendo been about tech? When has Nintendo really been about online and stuff? Nintendo cares about everybody playing together, but it's better that you play in person together than it is that you playing online being about something else. And of course the friend codes things is crazy and all of this stuff. But I'm like, when you look at what happened in Kansas with the swatter thing and how that man died, look at what the craziness and the on kind of like the online racism and bigotry and stuff that's being said online. You don't want that stuff being associated with your business and
Mhm.
everything. So you're trying to cultivate that and everything. So Nintendo, yes, they don't have the best online service to a lot of people, but if you don't treat online service like I don't play a lot with my friends or really chat or stuff like there, if you're not doing a lot of that, then Nintendo's online service should be fitting for that because you don't chat with a lot of people. You got a lot of friends on your friends list, but you guys barely play games together. And if there is a game that you play that's multiplayer, it's very slim that you're party playing maybe 2 or 3 games, and y'all don't play that much. Like, of course, Destiny is a big one with a lot of people, but who's playing anything outside of Destiny?
I don't know. I think Nintendo they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. And for $20, you could for $20 for a whole year to have some of their retro games and stuff. There are people who are bad at games, at retro games and stuff, who are still trying to get through Mario Brothers as an adult. I tell people it's funny to me that you can run do Destiny with a team, but you can't play Mario Brothers with being a one person thing. And it's the most simple, basic mechanics. I have ran through Mario Brothers 1 all 32 levels. I have did it with the lost levels. I even did it with Sonic 1 and 2 without the codes and stuff. I did it with Bionic Commando and stuff. And it surprises me that some people will probably be like, well, you don't really play a lot of online games with a lot of people. I'm like, I try to and everything, and I could hold my own, but it's just you know who's gonna play that game with me or invite me to play with them and let's play and stuff, because I'm up to playing online games, but not many people want to play online games with me. And you know it is what it is. But when it comes to Nintendo, I'm great at Nintendo games, but I'm great at video games in general and stuff. So first person shooters I'll get murked but but that's because I don't really do a lot of online matches and stuff. But if I love your campaign, I will talk about your campaign and play it through. So
So speaking of Nintendo, want to talk to us a little bit about Nintendo Power Block?
yes, so Nintendo Power Block, that is kind of Corey's baby, but as you guys just heard in the intro, I have been moved up to host of the show. And what Nintendo Power Block is, us and a group of friends, we get together and we talk about all things Nintendo. Sale numbers, video games, trailers, directs. We also have now Snacktendo, where we actually talk about various snacks that we find or that we had over the weekend. And snack life is important. Snacking is important to gaming because it's just like, you know, you could snacking helps makes you feel good, and like Nintendo, they make you feel good with their games and stuff. And so we do that, and we answer questions and we have contests. And as a new host, or being host, I should say, because I did host Nintendo Pop Block at some time, when Corey had to step away for a bit. I kind of want to bring something new to Pop Block, so we're going to have quizzes, like a quiz show, with different guests and with our own. So let's get ready. Great, get ready.
So are these
Dan,
pop quizzes, or we're going to be able to research ahead of
so
time?
they're going to be pop quizzes, but they are going to have multiple choice. So
Okay.
you have to, so it's gonna be a little bit easier and a little bit fun. We'll probably bring in some book club things. We'll have some topics to discuss. Of course, we'll answer people's questions um and still have our Snacktendo. And then maybe when we go live and stuff, we give a recommendation, or one of our viewers give a recommendation and stuff of a game that they want us to check out or other people to check out. I'll probably talk about sales and that you guys people could check out. I'm trying to bring something different to Power Block. Um, while still keeping that traditional thing of Nintendo Power Block for it. But it's gonna be things still about Nintendo and everything. So hopefully
Awesome.
people enjoy it. People continue to watch it and support all of us and really have fun with it and keep continue to should contribute in the chats and send us email and everything because uh I I know the formula of Pop Lock. I want to enhance the formula for it. I want to make it a little bit more juicier, more it's not saying it's not entertaining, but more entertaining to be like, oh, they're doing a quiz. Let me get some paper, see, test my knowledge,
Hmm.
and see what I know about it, and like really have fun and really laugh about it. So that's kind of what I want to do with Nintendo Power Block, but I can't wait for the future of it. And just like I said, we're still going to have contests and things like that. Um, but it's going to continue to be fun. And if there's like not a news story or anything, we're still going to do lists. So we'll still do our top five or our bottom or honorable mentions and stuff. Um, and we'll still do that. And it's funny. I keep going to this. Uh, Corey, there's been episodes where Corey's just said, I have nothing to talk about. And so I would ask a question. I would ask him a question, and we would spend close to 2 hours talking about it, diversion and stuff. And he'll be like, okay, is that all? I'm like, yeah, that's it. Well, everybody, that's Nintendo Power Block. And we literally made an episode out of nothing. So there may be times that we literally do that. Then we just hit record and we go and we just go ahead and have fun. Um,
Yeah,
and
that's
oh,
enjoyable.
one last thing. We might actually do some fanfic reading.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
where we play roles of people who wrote stories about Nintendo games and stuff, and they're going to be G-rated. They're not going to. Hopefully, they don't deal with anything that I'm going to go over the stuff, and I will send the story to you guys, and you can choose to be like read it over, pick your lines and stuff, and we may do an episode where we just literally we introduce it and then we tell the story of what somebody read, and we read it out like it's an audio book, a Nintendo fan audio book, and stuff. Um, so hopefully we could do something like that, just like change it up and everything.
Yeah, it sounds like it's an ongoing process and it can be different each time in a
Mhm.
sense. Something
Yes,
different for people to look forward to each week. So I think it's going to be fun. I think
yes,
I think people are having a lot of good topics right now, and I think that they're getting a lot out of the content right now. So I'm excited to see where it goes from now on.
yes. I hope people are excited. I'm going to try to do my best. I don't want to lose listeners. I don't want to lose viewers. I want to do my best, um, to keep not only people entertained, but to keep people involved and get more listeners and viewers and stuff, and just be like, yeah, Power Block, they at another level, and it's still exciting and enjoyable as ever.
Oh yeah, and people are pretty good about giving feedback. So we'll just take it one day at a time.
Yes, and
And
I want feedback, so to see, because helps me as a host to feel like what I could work on and improve and everything.
yeah, you won't know how you're doing unless somebody points out something to you. So
Exactly.
yeah, because I mean, that's how you get better if people can offer you perspectives, but you also have to remember to stay true to yourself. Like
Yes.
if you truly enjoy doing something and you feel in your heart that it's the way to go, you have to stick with it. That's
Yes.
yeah, because what's the point of doing something like Nintendo Power Block if you're not enjoying it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is one of, so we talked about optional opinion, Nintendo Power Block, and then on Saturdays is Boss Rush Games, the titular podcast of the family of podcasts.
Yes. And Corey gave me that one way way in advance. Uh Corey feels like I'm a great host. And I keep things moving, keep everybody energetic, and Boss Rush podcast, you know, with when Corey gave it to me, he was just like, You're the leading face of this. You know what you're doing. I can sit back and produce, and like if I got to multitask, I can multitask without having to worry about anything. I put it
Hmm.
everything in your hands. So of course we do news. We talk about games that we're getting down. You and LaRon, before you guys came to like Boss Rush, we talked about our favorite snacks and we had
Hmm.
fun about that. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna get that snack. I sell that snack at home. I'm going to the store to get that snack Friday or Monday and stuff. And it was just like it's always something different, always something good. But it's Boss Rush podcast is kind of like different different teammates coming together to talk about the news, to talk about analyze. Maybe I'll have a question for everybody, and we just give our different responses and our positives and negatives, our different opinions, and a little bit optional opinion in that sense. Um, and it's just a good way. I always tell people when we go live to go grab some lunch, get your snack, and come and join us and and talk to us and be in the chat and have fun with us because I feel like even though it's a midday thing, it feels like a group hangout with everybody. And we're
Yeah.
bouncing off exactly. We're bouncing off ideas. We're talking about things. We're laughing about things. But and sometimes there are serious manners and stuff. I for each episode and a couple for past weeks I talked about if you're able to vote, let your voice be heard to get out there and vote and stuff. Because it's very important and everything. And we've been talking about news, um, like the Jason Schreier story or a serious Xbox or PlayStation, talking more about that. So there's different things that make that show like super fun, and it's always great to talk to different teammates and get their perspectives, get their viewpoints, get their opinions, get their options and stuff. And it's a big hangout. And when we go live and still talking about the subject, even though it's not part of the show, it always feel great to have that discussion with everybody. And I do have a time limit because of work, and I do my best to be like, you get the front of work, we'll wrap it up, and we'll go. Everybody have a great day, have a great weekend, and
Oh, yeah.
and
You could end up with a
it's
5 hour long podcast.
exactly. And I always continue to use our motto: be play games, be better. Um, and I always say, let's continue to play video games and be better to one another. And the reason why I say that is because I think, like with Corey and I, just the stuff that we endured in our past, we always want to be like, we want to have a place, a network, and that's why we have Bosch Games, where with that motto, is that we always wanted a place of positivity, of diversity, where people could come on and feel welcome and
Hmm.
love and laugh and always feel like their voice was heard and stuff. And if they ever want to come on and talk about something, let's come on, let's talk about it and everything, and just really enjoy stuff. This year was our first time having a Black Lives panel, having a pride panel. You hosted the women's panel that everybody enjoyed, even I enjoyed. Corey got on me. He was just like, you can't host a women's panel. I was just like, I know. I know I wasn't thinking that far here, but I was excited because it was just like I get to talk to women in games because I don't talk to a lot of women about video games. It's always not saying it's male dominant and stuff, but like there's a lot of males that I talk to about talk about with video games, but like to talk with a lot of women about video games and hear their stories and their perspectives. I'm always happy to hear that and stuff. And I'm trying to be better at that. Is talk to more women about games and get their voices. And because of me talking to so many males, it just feel like I'm stuck in this thing and I'm so used to it that I just sometimes don't think about it. And I apologize. And I apologize to people about that. I'm trying to be better. I got to get it sometimes out of that mindset and stuff. And continue to talk to everybody about this stuff. I forgot that I wanted to have like a cosplay panel and stuff. But maybe we'll do that in the future and everything. But Boss Rush Podcast is just like a community hangout and a very good thing to have. And I thank Corey um for allowing me to host that. And there was a time that I couldn't host it because of work and other stuff being out of town. But like I really thank him for letting me host it and like really have fun with it and like kind of not say make it my own, but make it feel like it's a different podcast from everybody else's community podcast.
It kind of feels like a combination of all of the Boss Rush podcasts. It's a way for people to sit down and just talk about video games and topics in general and specialized topics. And I really enjoy that because there is a place for a PlayStation podcast, an Xbox, a Nintendo, but then it's nice to have the little flagship mother slash father podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, where everybody can just come on down and have a good time about anything,
Oh
really.
dang, Skype.
Yeah, I
You have
think.
you have to forgive me. Skype was stalling. Um, I,
Oh, you're good.
I will say, I kind of like last week's episode. In by the time people hear this, or a week before, because we're doing the history of Mass Effect. But um, a couple of weeks ago, when everybody sees this, I talked to Logan and I talked to Laurent, and I was we was gonna have Jesse on, but Jesse couldn't make it, due to reasons, which was good, the really good reasons for him. He needed that time off and stuff. But I kind of just like, uh, you know, from just talking to somebody or interact with somebody, what three games do you think kind of represents them and stuff and
Hmm.
everything? And I did my games for Logan, Laurent, and Jesse, and we gave our reasons and stuff. And it was good to hear Logan's and Laurent's. And I still got to hear Jesse's. I wonder what he said about me. But it was good to hear Logan's and Laurent's. Uh, kind of gangs that like they attached to me and stuff, and it was very interesting. I really felt good about that because I've never thought myself as that, but it was so good to do. It was a great list, and it's kind of interesting because we'll probably do it again when we have other guests and stuff. um but it's just like meeting somebody for the first time or meeting somebody and talking to them for a couple of while. I'm like, I wonder what video games would you attach to them and stuff. I attached to Logan one of the, if people who don't remember, but there's a series called Make My Video on the Sega CD. So you had Crisscross Make My Video, you had CNC Music Factory with Mark Wahlberg, and so you used to make different videos and stuff. And I applied that to Logan, because of his creation of editing videos and making that content. I'm just like, you're so knowledgeable about this, and you've been doing this for years, and it's so great to see you create stuff like that, being on the video team and stuff. So I applied that to you. I applied Shadowrun to Laurent, which is like the Super Nintendo game that was like talking about cyborgs and hacking and stuff, because he's so knowledgeable about PC and like his love for sci-fi and things like that. Like I could have did like Star Trek, he's a Trekkie and stuff. Uh, but I was just like, let me go here with this game because there's a lot to it, and he was surprised that I went that far back. I'm an old school kind of gamer, uh, but it was something that no other podcast I have heard or been on or seen do anything like that, where you meet somebody and hang out with them, what three video games would you apply to them? Um, with Jesse, I did Mario and Luigi, or the Mario Luigi series, is because like I feel like I'm Luigi. I'm not scared or anything, and I feel like he's my Mario. Um, because of the way that we interact and we help each other and we talk about things. And as much as I talk to Corey and like that's my bro him, that's my boss, like that's family. I feel like Jesse is also my bro him, and he's like my family and everything. And it was great to actually meet Corey and Jesse in real life.
Yeah.
To actually meet those two and everything. This is kind of a side tangent. To hang out with Corey, it was weird. When I met Corey, it was real late at night. He came and sat by me at the train station. I'm like, oh wow! And then to see how tall he was, I'm just like, oh, he's really tall. But I went to go see him around the time the Super Nintendo Mini was coming out, and because I was working at Toys R Us, we planned on going to toys in his state, and I had I could tell discuss the stories no more. I was able to look up in our inventory or in their inventory how many Super Nintendos they had. So I told them what it was, and so we was able to get up and go there. When Jesse came down here and I got to meet him in real life, uh, we forgot to throw up the X together. So, but I took him to the mall. I took him out to lunch. We went to the mall. He saw the Cinnabon place, and he just like got so excited. And I love Cinnabons too, so I brought us Cinnabons, showed them a little Dave and Buster's, and then we sat back and watched the Spider-Man movie and stuff. And it was so cool to hang out with Jesse and talk about music and talk about games and our lives and like next time he comes, hopefully when he comes back down here and stuff, you know, um, I can show them more around and just like continue to have fun with them. But yeah, I'm sorry that was a side tangent outside of what Boss
That's
Rush
all right.
podcast was.
Well, it's important because you guys are the founders, so I think it's cool to hear those kind of stories. People like hearing about your friendships and your experiences together, so that's perfectly fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always apologize to Corey and to Corey and Jesse. I'm just like, if I ever make you guys upset, I'm sorry. I get too much into the conversation. And me and Jesse had some disagreements, but I always tell Jesse that I love him and I care for him. Like, and that's my bro him. Like, if he was looking forward to a game and he wouldn't be able to get it, I'll tell him check your Xbox One or check your system. Like, I would literally buy it for him digitally
Oh,
and like be like, dude, happy birthday, or you need to game with us, here it is. And he'll get some rewards with Microsoft points and the bonuses and stuff like that. And I'll be like, hey, you was looking forward to it and I know you didn't have the money, bam, there it is. Like, and I told him, like, if you're not able to get Cyberpunk, let me know and I will get him Cyberpunk 2077. um
oh,
I would help him. LeBron knows. Okay, so
yes, LeBron knows.
okay, so this is okay, so I'm going to just and I love you, Laurent. So if you see this, I love you, I care for you and everything. So when they was talking about the 6 month limited thing for Mario All Stars, this is some backstory. LeBron was gonna have a piece about it. I don't know if he's still gonna put it out. I would love to see what he was gonna say,
I haven't
but
seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet either. But we was talking. Me and him was talking before Boss Rush podcast, and he was just like, I don't know if I should put the piece out. And I told him, wait, hold on to it and air and everything. Don't put it out. Uh, I told him like, if you can't get it, I could get it for you. He told me no, but I got it for him anyway. So that Friday when the game came out, I bought 4 copies. I bought 3 copies. Mine was already paid for because I pre-ordered it from Best Buy. But I bought my mom and my nephew one. But I was going to buy LeBron one also and send it to him. So I got the package. I got his address and everything, and I put the game in. I put a note that says, "I know you told me not to get it, but I still wanted you to have it and everything." And regardless of whatever piece that you put out and stuff, I wanted you to have this game. Know that I love you and I care for you, and This is just whatever it is to you and stuff. Um, and so I sent it to him that Saturday. We talked, and um, I told him, don't put the piece out. Wait, let everybody have their fun with the game first and enjoy it. And then if you feel like you're ready to put the piece out, you can. So still didn't put the piece out and everything. That Tuesday he ended up getting the game, and Celeste, you probably seen it in the chat and everything. He's just like at that retro code. I hate you.
Yes, I did see that.
He's like, I do not like you. I was just like, what are you talking about? He's just like, for real though, thank you, man. And everybody can see if you watch PlayStation Crossroads. He had the episode where he had the Kathleen, which I still need to get for Switch, and he had on the Mario 3D connection and stuff. Um, and so I did that, and I didn't want him to put the piece out because he didn't know that he was getting the game from me, but I had sent him the game, and I didn't want him to put the piece out, and then like he put the piece out, and then the game came and stuff, and he'd be like, oh, okay, now I feel. So thank you, Laron. I love you. I had to be open and honest about that one because I love him. Us having our 1v1, our 3 hour 1v1, it felt like this was my best friend for all time and stuff. So yeah. But Corey, like I said, Corey and Jesse, you my best friends, y'all my bro hands. Like I said, you all here on Boss Rush are my family. So
Yes, that's what I love about it. It's full of people who can share their opinions, and I think it's normal to have disagreements because we're all human. We all have different ideas, and that's how good things come because you're not caught in this bubble or this echo chamber. I don't want everybody to agree with me. I'm not going to grow as a person. That's
yeah.
how we get better. That's how we learn. So
Yes.
it's really important. And there is another podcast. It's fairly new, and I'm very well aware and very familiar with this one called Talk the Walk, which kind of branched off from the book club series with Boss Rush a
Yes.
little bit.
Yeah, so Talk the Walk is our walking simulator podcast that we do once a month. And we talk about a walking game that one of us recommends to each other, and we discuss the characters, the story, the narrative, what we thought about it, moments that we liked, moments that we disliked. And uh this kind of stemmed from Celeste talking about what remains of Edith Finch, and I was just like, I just played that game, and me and Celeste kept talking about it. I was just like, okay, we gotta have this as a podcast. We finally got to do it, and so we put it out there. We met Billy Holiday, from Retrovaniacs, and he was just like, I love that game, and so we three got together. I was just like, okay, we need to talk about this game. Let's set a date, and we set a date, and we played it, and I did not expect that thing to get that much love and love and recognition. And so Corey ended up deciding that, like, hey, I got a lot of feedback that people like this and everything. And we ended up doing Go Home. We got to do Soma and stuff. And then we'll be going to Everything Goes to the Retro, which Celeste is going to be the moderator of that one. Billy Holiday is going to be the moderator for Soma. But, what like talking about walking simulators, and we would talk about narrative in games. This is a show that focuses on narrative because it's all about story. Yeah, you're walking to different things to get the story, but it's always about that and everything. So
Hmm.
um it was kind of just like we was thinking, throwing around names, what we're gonna do, walk the talk, or I was just like, just as simple, talk the walk. I'm like, we're talking about walking simulators, and so it just happened to come out like that. So um
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
And,
it's
oh, go ahead.
fun. I was just gonna say it's fun. I love it because those are such a niche series,
Hmm.
that
Yes.
they're not they have their fans, but they're not as well known as the main series and different types of games like first person shooters
Hmm.
or adventure games.
Yeah. It's a take on um like kind of the telltale episodic adventure games and stuff, but this is more all in one thing, and you don't really have that much action or anything, and you have interaction, but you're not really doing anything violent or anything to progress. You're actually walking to get information, and when you do that, that's the progression of the story and everything. And that it's something it was at first it was new to me, because I've never thought about, you know, walking games or walking simulators and stuff. But then talking to people, definitely with you and definitely with Billy, having such like having such an in-depth uh opinion and answers for everything, it was just like I would have never thought about this. But like I said earlier, like learning from Jesse and learning from everybody, I'm learning from Billy a whole bunch of things that I missed. And it's
Mhm.
so good to laugh and hear about this and stuff. So Talk the Walk is a new kind of podcasting book club series that yeah, we talk about walking simulators. And um like I said, we're talking about Soma, which is like a walking horror simulator in a sense.
Yeah, it's a little
Uh,
different from Gone Home and Edith Finch.
Yes. And then everybody's going to the rapture. I had just finished that before Celeste recommended it. So I think there's some stuff that I missed that I'm gonna go back, but man, that slow pace walking is like
Oh
uh
yeah. Oh yeah. And you find something new every time you play
mhm.
those games.
Yes, it's weird. So Snack Tendo, going back to that. Corey talked about some sour cream Ritz crackers,
Hmm.
and while playing everybody going to the raptor, when I'm watching the interactive stuff and hearing the stories, I'm eating the chips like, and I went through a whole bag and just like I'm out of chips, and while go playing that game and just enjoying it, and it was just like I I never snack like that when playing a video game, and walking simulators allows me to snack and get this somewhat movie quality experience, but it feels like an audio book to me in a sense.
Yeah,
With
you're experiencing it too
yes,
firsthand at your own pace.
yes. So, um, yeah, everybody tune in to Talk the Walk, and I can't wait for you guys to play Gris, or
Hmm.
Gree. It is a different kind of walking simulator. It is a Metroidvania kind of thing, but not so much where you find different things and go and backtrack. You actually go forward, but it's a beautiful animated game where the story that's presented to itself was a little bit individual in the music, uh but it's such a creative game on how it progresses, and you 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 make your own kind of story up with it on what this character and what's going on. It's just such a beautiful game, and I'm kind of sad that it came out at the last minute of 2018. I think that it came out in December, and it's just like if this game would have came out and there was no kind of big Nintendo games that would could outbeat it or anything, I think Greed would have been my game of the year that year. And it's
Yeah.
such a lovely game. And I can't wait for you guys to play it because it is a walking simulator. It's not a walking simulator game, but there's not much action in the game. And I think people will enjoy that thing.
I'm looking forward to it. It's on my wish list. So, in the next few weeks or in about a month, I will be able to play it and talk about it with you guys. Because I love talking about video games with people and these
Yes.
kinds of games, just the different interpretations. And I love hearing, well, have you thought about it this way? Or what about this? Just different perspectives, you know?
Yeah, and I can't wait till we get to Firewatch because I never,
Oh,
because I,
oh.
you are hosting Firewatch for that
Me?
one. Yes.
You want me
Um,
to? Okay.
because I think I don't know if you or Billy recommended, but I know you were happy to be like, I can't wait till we get to Firewatch, and I'm like, held off for so long for this game, and so I can't wait to play it and experience it for the first time and really just hear really talk about it with me interjecting here and there and giving my thoughts. I'm really excited to play this game. So maybe that'll be the first game of 2021. I don't know.
Who
We
know?
shall
I
see.
don't know. There's another one I want us to play called Sagebrush.
I think you said, is it on PC?
I think it's on PC. I think it's on every platform now. I played it on PS4, I think, or Xbox One. I
I
played it on
re-
one of those, but I think it's on Switch as well. It's short. But if you like cults, Eddie.
you know what? I actually do. I
Well,
actually,
good.
I actually, as a call in, as in like watching them in for documentaries are my thing. I love watching it and just
Mhm.
learning the history and stuff. And there have been some crazy cult documentaries and stuff. And it's just like, wow, definitely the Westboro was. It's just like, wow, like this is not a religion. This is a cult, and it's
Have you
cool.
have you ever
Nice.
read the granddaughter's book?
I've never heard of it.
Oh, I read it. I don't know if I read it at the end of last year, beginning of this year, but she left it, and she's the granddaughter of the founder, Fred Phelps. Her name's Megan Phelps Roper, I think. She's married, but she talks about her experiences. Oh, Ed, I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna send you a link to it because
Okay.
powerful stuff.
A
Powerful
lot of
stuff.
people in that family has left, like the grandkids has left, and they were just like, I've I'm like realizing and being able to think on my own and realizing the stuff that I said and done, you know, I didn't think it was right. And so when I left, a lot of the people who left, they got shunned by that family. And it was
Oh
just
yeah.
like, I can't believe that you only love me for the belief and you don't love me for family. And that's as crazy. I keep saying that's crazy, but that's just so out there. Like something that you can't believe that you love me
Yeah.
for the belief, but you don't love me as family.
There are a few religions, quote unquote, that are like that. It's
Yeah,
very sad and it breaks my heart, because I might disagree with people on things, but I've never experienced being shunned because of that.
right. I am a Christian. I believe in God and everything, but my thing has been always to treat people with respect and treat people with love. So regardless of people believe it or not, I'm always going to be like, your religion, your belief is your belief. I still love you as a person, and I still want to hang out and talk with you. We can have political beliefs, we can have different beliefs, and that we agree and disagree. But hey, I will meet you at Lo Mein's Chinese restaurant. You get a number two, I get a number four. What game you playing? What comic book you reading? Did you love Spirited Away? Did you watch like the Golden Girls episode? We could talk about anything else. And if you want to talk about politics and you want to talk about religion, we can, and it will still be a love there for you. I will take nothing away because I'm into learning more about people and growing friendships. Kind of mentioned this on the first part of, well, 1v1 with Corey. It's just like I grew up as a kid that didn't have friends, who got made fun of my skin,
Oh.
who got made fun of my facial features and stuff. And I kind of had like self-esteem issues, but then I realized that, I started believing more in myself, and it's just like if people really got to know me and hang out with me and talk to me and stuff, they will understand I'm a really down to earth person. And so showing people that attitude and showing that that's my personality and characteristics, that I love everybody, and there is a time where we can forgive and forget and stuff. But I'm like, I'm cool with everybody. I'm down to earth. We can have, like I said, we can have our opinions about things, but I'm going to be the one that's going to be doing my best to root you on as much as I can. And if you don't want me to root you on, all you got to do is be like, thank you for that, but I prefer you not to do it anymore. I will be like, I will respect your wishes, and I will stop rooting you on and stuff. But I would still want the best for people and everything. Because I'm just like, I'm because for me, I'm just like, I didn't have nobody to root me on But I kind of now have people who will root me on, and I could do the same too. If I got people in my corner, um, that's good, and I hope to be in somebody else's corner and everything. So.
I, th- I think that's a really important message, Ed, because a lot of kids, they don't realize how much better it can become as
Hmm.
time goes on, and we didn't realize that when we were kids. Whatever we were dealing with, it's the future seems so far, so distant.
Yes, yes, and I think that's why when people don't when that's why I think when people get you in a good positive mindset and then good mental health and stuff, it's good to have that support system. It's good to be able to be open and talk to people, because sometimes when you bottle things up, it really hinders you, and it feels hurtful and stuff. And I think that's why when I did an optional opinion about talking to somebody who has depression, when you don't know what to do and stuff, it's just like you really wish you could do stuff for someone who's dealing with depression, but you can't. And one of the questions that I asked my friend was just like, um, is it always the mind versus the other person's word, where you who are dealing with depression, is it that you believe more of your mind than what you do with what everybody else is saying, you know? And I didn't talk about validation or anything like that. It's just like, there's gonna be a point where people are gonna feel like they're gonna give up on you because you're still taking the word of your mind and stuff,
Hmm.
then you take it over somebody. And he said one of the things about that, sometimes with depression you got to let that person deal with it, and work through it, because they have done this multiple times and stuff. They would love to seek help, they would love for depression and things to go away, but sometimes it's very hard for them, and that leads into other things. um it is something to, like, really, it's something to take in, like, how do you have that conversation? And I don't think a lot of people in the gaming industry have had that conversation about depression, that video games sometimes help them with depression and stuff. But sometimes there may be something triggering in a video game that make them fall into a depression and mental state. And it when you hear for somebody like that, and you be feel like it's educating you and you're learning, you be like literally surprised about that. So, um sorry for the side tangent, everybody.
No, that's an important side tangent because mental health is like we discussed in our Gone Home episode with one of the characters, and like you're talking about with optional opinion, mental health is something that it's talked about more and
Hmm.
more as time progresses, but for some people they feel like it makes them look weak if they
Yes.
admit they have that problem, and it's not something you can see like a tumor or a broken leg. So it's kind of mysterious to a lot of people, and I've noticed talking about mental health with certain people, if they've never experienced it or
Hmm.
they're too proud to admit they've had brushes with it, they I don't understand therapy. I don't think that really works. Or oh, people have it so much better or so much worse, I should say, than what they're dealing with. But I mean, how often do we see celebrities who have all this money and all this notoriety, all this fame and fortune? How many times do we hear about their struggles?
Yeah, we'll sometimes hear it with the art that they create, or in an interview, like an album might mean something to them because this is what they're dealing with. Look at Lady Gaga, and with her latest album, like the things that she went up in, what she went through. She made a dance album to not dance away her cares or anything, but to be like, I went through this and I survived, and
Hmm.
I want everybody to feel the same way. If you've been through something, know that you can survive. And dancing is my friend, my friend who is a pastor, talked about dancing, and we just like, dancing makes you feel good. And whether it was a tribal thing, because, in tribes, if you watch like historical stuff, you see people dancing, and sometimes it's a celebration and stuff. And dancing makes you kind of feel good. And so when you are listening to music and it makes you dance, even though it's painful, sometimes it's giving you the strength and encouragement um to get through it. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you'll have to deal with it. You're gonna go through some ups and downs with it, but when you come out of it, and you're gonna feel good about it, and that's gonna teach you to be able to talk to somebody who's going through the same thing. So, and show them that when you're in their corner, that they could count on you, or they could count on people that is going to encourage you and help you and stuff. There's a game called Fat Princess, that came on PlayStation 3, and people thought it was people felt like it was demeaning because you fed the princess cake. But this game, as wacky as it is and stuff, a lot of people was just like, this is definitely because it's a woman, and eating cake and stuff. Like, this is dealing with body issues and stuff. But no one talked about the kidnapping that you as the other team got to do. You got to kidnap the princess and everything. Just like you're focusing on one thing, but you're not focusing on kidnapping is wrong and everything. And it's kind of, you don't see with characters who have an eating disorder, who have a body image, get mentally in their mind that their body don't look a certain way. Um you look at Papa. I always talk about Papa and Yo, how the creators, dealt with his alcoholic father and stuff. You talk about Rhyme. I'll talk about Rhyme and stuff. And spoiler alert, it's about a child, actually a man who lost his child to the sea and stuff. And the child's going through a journey of accepting that he is no longer part of this world and everything. I advise people to play that game, play Rhyme, because it's something that is told through music and stuff. It has a good visual narrative to it, but I'm just like, you feel the music really bring out the emotion of these characters. If you didn't hear the music and you just seen it, you wouldn't understand what was going on. The music in Rhyme really helps talk about that. And you know how you, as a parent, how do you deal with playing a game about losing a child and stuff, and coming to realize of losing a child and stuff, and dealing with that mentality of death and everything. We always talk about, you don't get an extra continue when you leave this world, like this
Mm-hmm.
actual world. You get this one life and that's it. So right now you make the best out of it. And so I think that's why when we talk about things and narratives and ideas, and we talk about mental health and stuff, it's always to always remember that, the stories that are being told, you get something out of it, and that's why when you're part of Boss Rush, or you come to Boss Rush, that we all want everybody to play video games. We always want everybody to respect each other, and we want everybody to be better with one another, because if you are being negative to somebody, you could cause that person to lose their life. You could cause them to have mental problems. You could cause them. eh, You could cause is where I'm not worried about losing viewers or stuff like that. But I don't want other people in the community hurting other people in our very own community. I don't want people yelling and hurting our contributors, and people on our team and stuff. You know it's you can have an opinion, and you can say things that you don't disagree, but I always say this, and Corey knows this, Corey and Jesse knows this. I was just like, if you're gonna say that stuff, do it in a respectful manner. You don't have to agree with everything that we say or do as part of our Boss Rush, but don't attack people for no apparent reason. If you definitely an adult, be an adult and have something mature to say and everything. You can acknowledge some things that somebody else says, and you can also, like I said, disagree, but do it in don't do it in a disrespectful manner. Do it in a respectful manner, because people don't have this mental health or the characteristics and personality that other people do. We're not all on the same playing field. There's different levels of stuff that get to us. We are all human. We all go through stuff, and we want everybody to be better and to help and uplift everybody. If you want to do that, then do it. Uplift somebody. Make somebody day better. They could be having a crappy time going through something, but just sending some love, sending some encouragement is part of our mentality and our theme here at Boss Rush when we say be better. Like, Celeste, you can look in the chat, and regardless of all the craziness that's going on now and stuff, I always root for the team. I'm just like, good morning, everybody. How's the team doing? What sex did you guys have? Let's make it through the work day. Even though I gotta work late, I encourage you guys. I'm proud of you guys. Corey always sends positivity. He's proud of us. He thanks us, and he does it on a daily basis, and we do it to him and give him compliments to also encourage him. And so I do it to Jesse and try to encourage him. Like, we all send encouragement to each other, because it's it's always, if we're going to show the community of us playing games and being better, we got to also be better to one another here on Boss Rush. And we got to show that same love and attitude to each other like we show the community and everything.
So it sounds like Boss Rush Games is bigger than video games. It's something so
Yeah.
much more than just video games.
Yes, and and even outside of Boss Rush games, like when I talk about World 1 and I look at other podcasts, I always try to do my best to root for them. I send them the crazy questions to make them also think outside the box. But maybe I'll send a retweet, maybe I'll say yas, maybe I'll give them some love and everything, because I love that they're out here also voicing their opinion and being creative and standing up for justice, and and wanting everybody also to be play games and be better and stuff, regardless of what podcast they are doing and stuff. And guessing, I always am happy to see their creativity and see how happy and engaged they are. Because like I said, if I'm showing love on Boss Rush, I want to be able to show that same love to other people who are doing almost the same things that we are doing. It's, to me, it's not competition. It's always compliments, compliment. If we, like we say, if you got a PlayStation or an Xbox and a Nintendo Switch is your complimentary, it's still gaming to us. It's still, I don't care if you don't like the Switch or not, but if you own one and you enjoy it, that's a compliment to gaming and stuff. It don't have to be high on your priority or anything of games, but if you get a game for Switch and you enjoyed it the same way that you're enjoying the Xbox or PC or PlayStation game, heck, the 3DO or Amiga, Sega Saturn, whatever retro game, even the arcade stuff, like, if it's a compliment and you're happy about it, that makes me happy. That makes me joyous and stuff.
Yeah, there's room for everyone at the table.
Yes.
That's what I love about this community. It's brought a lot of joy to my life. Like the other day, I tweeted about how 2020 has been challenging for many obvious reasons for the entire world. But I love being with you guys. I love talking with you, Ed. I love the opportunities, because life gets heavy, like you were talking about. You don't know what someone is going through. Someone could be smiling and they might seem like they have everything in the world. They might seem like they're at the top of the mountain.
Yes.
But we don't know what might be behind that smile. Maybe a family member is sick. Maybe they have to worry about a natural disaster. Maybe they lost their job. It doesn't cost a dime or a penny to be nice to people. Just to check on people, to be kind.
Yeah, and if you feel like that you said something offensive, always apologize and come with a sincere heart. And if they don't want to do anything with you or anything like that, accept that and respect it, but always just let them know that that you're sorry. And even if you're not forgiven about it, at least you did what was right, that you said you were sorry. And maybe in time things may rectify itself and you guys or gals may talk again and be like, I'm just happy that you're doing great. It's always good to give encouragement to somebody. Like you said, it doesn't cost nothing to say it doesn't cost anything to be positive with other people.
Yeah, and it's really important to be a cheerleader like you do, you and Corey do, and other people with, we're gonna make it through this, because a lot of people, we all have bouts of self-doubt, like, oh, am I doing this right?
Hmm.
Are people gonna like this? And it's really important to have a village. It's really important to have some people in your corner. Everybody needs that.
Yes. Yes.
Well, is there anything else you would like to share, either about games or podcasts or life or
Um,
snacks or anything?
so I mentioned World War One podcast, and that's another podcast that's not part of Boss Rush that I do with Larry Giver, my good friend in Indiana, and our other people on there, and uh we talk about games. There's a whole bunch of nonsense, but when we get in depth and we have good talks, it's really good. We actually on this list and discussion, it'd be like what are some video game history things. I actually got to with Larry actually got to talk to the developers of Shovel Knight. Got to talk
Wow.
to them. Got to talk to the creator of Axiom Verge, and have a great discussion with that. It caused some controversy later on. Uh,
Mm.
uh, but I ended up apologizing to him because, but I told this other person, I'm just like, make sure that they said that, that we don't want to put anything out if it's not sure anything. And so I don't know how that stuff went. Uh, but I did end up apologizing to him, just like it wasn't our intention to create this fiasco or anything. I respect him. I love him as a creator and everything, and I enjoy Axiom Verge and everything. And it was a great time talking to him and stuff. And we have talking to I apologized to Pierre Schneider because Skype was acting up on my side, and I don't know why. And I kind of want to do another. I really want to get in touch with him again and talk to him and just like really fully apologize. Be like, I'm sorry for the first time of it. Skype was acting up. My internet was acting up. I tried to do my best, and I apologize because I really do want to talk to Pierre Steiner again. I think he's a great person at IGN. He's so fun and so down to earth, and I love his dogs. I love his videos
Oh.
of him showing his dogs. Um, they'll see something on TV, and then they'll sit down and just look and everything. And he got a fantastic amiibo collection. I think he got all the amiibos, and I'm just like, this looks so beautiful. So
That's
I was
amazing.
yeah, I would love to talk to Pierre Schneider again. I actually talked when I was talking to the guys from Shovel Knight. We was talking about Mega Man and Castlevania, and we had a good conversation. And they got me. They're just like, when they said something, they made a statement, and I was just like, you're right. I can't say nothing. And we all four laughed. It was such a great conversation. It was so good. But those guys are awesome um at their company, just great. Like, and we even talked to other developers and stuff from other games on World War One podcast. So I love those guys. I love Larry. That's my bro. Him. When I go to when I go to South Bend, I go see him. I go hang out with him. And we sometimes have like deep conversations. He's an amazing cook. He shows me all the great food places. He knows that when I come down, I want to go to King Gyros or Gyros or whatever they call it, and give me a gyro. There was a gyro meal for like only $5 and I was just
Wow.
like, what? Like fries, drink, the gyro itself, and it was super cheap. I'm like, this is about $9-10 in my area. And they were just
It was
and
perfection.
it's perfection. And if I on Sundays, if I don't have problems getting back home because of certain people at work acting up, we would go to a place called Evo Check and go to like their brunch. Man, they got some great food. He literally was just, it was so good. The food in South Bend was so good that I had a hard time literally coming home to eat Illinois food because I was just like, this don't taste nothing like South Bend, and I cannot eat it. It's the same thing that happened when I went to the when I went to check a couple of years, like in 2008, 7. I went to the Czech Republic and I tasted their cabbage soup, and their cabbage soup was good. That's all I kind of ate, and
Yum.
yeah, I lost a lot of weight. I would just say that. But yeah, I had enjoyable time in Czech, but yeah, uh, just being able right now here on Boss Rush, being able to talk to other creators, adding people to our team, talking to Comet Jays, talking to Laurent, talking to you, Celeste, talking to Shane, talking to the Another Zelda podcast, talking to MJ, talking to Nelly. Like I actually helped Nelly. We as a community helped Nelly on Twitch solve a puzzle about Tomb Raider, and I was happy. I was like, yay!
Oh,
It was so good, and I don't get to talk to Nelly like that, and I want to talk to Nelly like I want to talk to her like face to face. So hopefully LeBron and Logan and Austin, and I definitely want to talk to Austin also. I kind of want to be on LAN party and talk to those guys and hang out.
you should
Talking to
hop on.
Josh. I'm trying to. I'm doing my best. Talking to Josh, talking to Joe. I wish I talked to Josh and Joe much more. Cause I got thoughts on Arsenal X. Like, and so history about Arsenal X. Before we go, uh, Corey gave me hosting duties of Arsenal X back on
Ah,
NGR and everything. And me and just and at that time, Corey wasn't able to make it that time, but me and Jesse was hosting and going back and forth and having fun. And they got a fantastic team. Corey them leading that. But uh when he gave me Arsenal X, because Corey named it, and then we was just throwing names around like and everything, and he joked around. He said Arsenal X, and I told him that's it, that's the name of the show. He's just like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yes." And so um uh Arsenal X was the name of our Xbox show, and we just had fun. And when he gave it to me, I was like, welcome to Arsenal X, NGR's Xbox podcast, or I'm sorry, Boss Rush Games Xbox podcast. I'm your host, ADV, joining me and doing the names and stuff. And it's just like and before I got into the show, I'm like, and you know what? We're gonna throw up the X because we are about to throw down, and the reason the throw down part is because when we throw down, our hands were uncrossing them, so that means that we're about to throw down. And I get into the show, and we would just talk all things Xbox, and like to end it, I'll be like, we're about to throw out the X one more time because we're exiting out of here. And so I was doing like X puns and stuff like that, and everything. And so that's kind of history of Arsenal X with the throwing up the X and throwing it down, like in uh I love it that people have got onto it about throwing up the X, because it's 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 something that's connected to Xbox. It's just something fun to do that's different than Power Block and Boss Rush and PlayStation. It has its own identity, just throwing up the X and stuff. And Jesse's dog, Lennon, he's our Arsenal X mascot, because every time we was recording Arsenal X, Lennon would join Jesse, turn around, sit on the couch and sleep. And
oh my
so
God.
uh he would, because he was so much on our recordings and stuff, that he just became our Xbox mascot. And I love his dog. I haven't got to meet him, and my plan was to go to meet Jesse, but of course the pandemic and that and everything. I didn't haven't get a chance to do that, but like every time I see Lennon and he sits down by Jesse and stuff, I'm like, oh, it's Lennon, our Arsenal X mascot, and of course I'll plug Arsenal X and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of the history behind throwing up the X for Arsenal X and stuff. And Power Block, where I go woohoo, where I ended right there, because it was just something that happened. I just thought like, I'm gonna try to exit, I'm gonna try something fun, and I'll be like, why everybody woohoo, like a Mario or something, have
hmm
that into the representation. And so when there's a news story or something crazy, that's why you'll hear crazy things coming out of my mouth when Corey introduces me, and I'll be like, jump, jump, slide, slide, because it's Mega Man and stuff, and it's just something fun, and those Corey off at times. You're like, what the world is this? Like, and so that's that. And then Boss Rush is just Boss Rush podcast, and that's just having fun. So
That's yeah, you gotta have fun with it. And I love the little bits of character that are added to the different podcasts like that.
Yes, I can't wait to go onto Crossroads. I'm excited to do that, to talk to the PlayStation team, because I when I do get a chance to watch everybody's show live, I do like be in the Twitter feed, not Twitter feed. I do be in the chat on Twitch and stuff and ask some questions and have fun with that. Uh, but to have them on me live, it's not going to be nothing like it's not going to be nothing like new to me, but it's going to be interesting because they got this big Nintendo guy, this Xbox fan, but they're going to see how much I do love PlayStation, but how I'm going to be a little bit challenging, and I'm going to give people the talk. It's all there's one thing about me about podcasts is that I would get on it and I would make people talk. They would say, "Well, you're wrong" and stuff, or the viewer would be like, "Oh, you're wrong" and stuff. And the thing about it is, it's just that, okay, if I'm wrong, talk to me about why I'm wrong. Let's have that conversation. Because see, you can't just to watch. You're gonna be surprised that you have more to say than you normally thought. So, when I get on different people podcasts, I always have fun. I always make people think outside the box sometimes. But hopefully, when they have me on Crossroads, I'll get to talk to Nelly, and I'm excited to. I'll get to talk to Austin. I've talked to LaRonda Logan, but I'm happy to talk to those two about PlayStation, and I cannot wait. I'm so excited. I don't know what they're gonna have me talk about. I don't know what it's going to be. The list, I know LaRon always and them, they always plan it out. They do fantastic and stuff. And I told Corey that's just like, I hope you also have me on Arsenal X when you can, because I would love to come on Arsenal X and I would love to talk about Xbox and stuff. And with that, in that hype and that energy that I bring to Power Block, I'm going to bring to Crossroads and bring to Arsenal X. I love to create with people and I love to have discussions. And of
And
course,
that's
optional, yeah,
awesome.
and plus optional opinion is open to anybody. And yeah, so
Thank you so much, Ed. I really appreciate your taking the time to share all of that with everybody. And I'm really looking forward to that PlayStation episode with you on it because they're crazy right now. And I can't wait to see you get thrown into the mix to add, to shake it up a little bit. Because, oh
I
man, they're funny.
yeah, they're fun. They're funny. I think I think they're gonna be like, I never thought about that. I got something to say about it, so we're gonna have fun and stuff. The OF stuff and the feet and everything. That's there. That's them. I I'm a little bit professional. I'm a co-founder. I'm a boss. I gotta be more, on top of things a little bit. But I'm going to get in the nitty gritty with them and literally have fun. I cannot wait. I really can't wait.
That's going to be a good time. Well, Ed, where can people find you if they'd like to follow you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at that Butcher Code. You guys can check out Optional Opinion on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or down YouTube Music, and other podcast apps. I am going to get back into it and do some more episodes. I still got to record it, but hopefully the new episode, which is titled, ooh, sorry about that. Food. This title, Can Sony and Nintendo Ever Work Together? I can't really wait to record that. I have a lot of topics and stuff. I just gotta record them and put them out. So I hope you guys check it out there. World 11 Podcast. You can check on podbean.com. You can check me out here on Boss Rich Games. .com and on Boss Rush Podcast on Twitter. You can check me out on Twitch at the Lyrical One if you want to see some gameplay of me playing PlayStation, Xbox games and stuff. If you follow me on Twitter, I post videos. I post like music videos. I post jokes, stories, real life things, encouraging things. I ask questions like, "What's your favorite sushi?" or
Hmm.
and stuff like that. And soon, hopefully, I'll be getting ready to get Pod and Play for 2021. And everything, and get ready for my game of the year discussions for different places and stuff because as crazy as it seems, Nintendo had a great 2020 this year. Or I should say the Nintendo platform had a great 2020. No disrespect to Xbox and PlayStation, but you cannot deny if Animal Crossing probably doesn't take Game of the Year, I would be shocked. I wouldn't give Game of the Year to Cyberpunk 2077. I would give it to kind of, well, I would nominate Animal Crossing, I would say, but there has been no game that I think in 2021, besides Springfield Adventure, that has did the numbers and has did the posting and talk like Animal Crossing. So I would be shocked if it does not take 2020 Game of the Year. I would literally be shocked and everything.
I
But
can't wait to see what it is.
exactly. I so side tangent. I'm sorry, unless I know we're about to go. I do an optional opinion game of the year called a bunch of game awards, and so uh if you I kind of do a list, but instead of doing best PlayStation game of the year, I'll probably be like best PlayStation game that had the cinematography and stuff, and then give it that one game and stuff. And if you get nominated or if you win that award, you don't win any other awards unless you're in a list. If you're in the list, you have a chance to win some other games. Because I think last year Yoshi's Crafted World won my game of the year. But I in 2017, Horizon and Breath of the Wild won tie, and that's the first time on that tie. Another tie that I had was Just Shapes and Beats and Forza Horizon 4 for best music, and that was super hard to do.
Couldn't it's hard to sometimes it's really hard to not have two winners because they're both so good.
Yes, and and for in order for me to have that list, that's why I play games on Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox because there's so many experiences and everything that once I play them, complete them, or get enough of my full, I know where I could put games at and give them a different award that no one else is giving them and everything. Because I do have some worst games and I give them the Garbodor Award. So Garbodor is he was a Pokemon that looked like a garbage bag. So
Well, at least that's a nice blow. They can be a Pokemon. It's kind of
yeah,
softening the pain a little
yeah,
bit.
and what's different about this is I just don't read the winner. I actually play music from that game's soundtrack, and then I say what the name is. It takes around 2 hours to record that. It
Wow.
takes around 2 hours because it's like 55, 54 to 55 awards and stuff. And then I do game of the year at the end. So while the music is playing, I'll lower it down and then I'll say the name. And so hopefully you guys will be able to check that out. But yeah, but optional opinion is um SoundCloud, and I have a movie podcast here on Boss Rush Games whenever it rolls out. I gotta still record some more called We Talk. Oh no, not We Talk. Recap. I'm sorry, and it's us recapping movies that we've seen before and if they still hold up.
Hmm.
Some movies will be for the first time, and I always will have a guest and stuff. And LeBron has been a great guest. We have talked about Ghost in the Shell. We talked about Resident Evil. I talked about No Host Barber, my good friend Eric Hunter and stuff. And we rate the movies with our caps, with our baseball caps and stuff. And so we'll put it in different positions and to give it that review and stuff. But the conversations are so good, and I cannot wait for that to come out on Bus Rush podcast
Awesome. I can't
or
wait
Bus
to
Rush
see
Game.
it.
Yes.
I can't
Uh,
wait to see that. That sounds cool.
yes. So, but yeah, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, like I said, at that Rich Code and Optional Opinion on SoundCloud.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ed. It was nice to sit down with just you and chat, get to know you even better. We've known each other since June, and it's always nice to hear more and more from you.
Yes, thank you, Celeste, for having me. I cannot wait to hear Corey's and Jesse's 1v1, like catching them up. But just want to say thank you, everybody, for having me here on Boss Rush. Thank you, Celeste, for this 1v1. I love you all. I want everybody to continue to play games and be better to one another because definitely in 2020, we need that encouragement. And if you need more encouragement, hit me up on Twitter and we'll have a great talk about games or food or books. You talk a lot about books, Celeste, and I feel bad because I don't read a lot and I want to, but every time I go to the dollar store, I'm buying about $7 worth of books because I love mystery and I love thrillers, and that's my jam. But I love when you interview people and you guys talk about books. It gets me happy. I'm just like, I love reading. I love them doing that. So
yeah, there's so many books out there. It's hard to keep track.
Exactly. But yeah, everybody, have a great week. Have a great weekend whenever you guys see this. And like I said, let's continue to play games. And I love you all.
Thank you guys so much for listening. You can find me on Twitter at FairyCrypt, and again, you can find Boss Rush Games at all the places Ed listed. So, till next time, see you later.
Bye everybody.